Well, hey everybody, how's it going? First off, let me apologize for not having posted too much over the last week or so. I was trying to take a break once again from social media. It can take a little bit of a toll once in a while. But today I wanted to do something kind of fun, a little funner than maybe some relapse theories, stages of change, or things we've talked about in the past, such as attachment theory. Some of those things, it's good for beginners. But today I want to do something a little more interesting. So, personality theories have been around since the 1940s. And all a personality theory is it tries to label a person's personalities to be able to be better understood by others. So there are so many out there, and there's many popular ones. But one that's kind of simplistic, and I feel like a lot of people would understand better, is Carl Jung's personality theories of extrovert, and ambivert, and introvert. We're going to focus on these three terms today. And Carl Jung was the originator of these terms. He was, I don't want to say the founder of personality theory, but he was definitely the person who coined the term. So let's start off with extroverts. Okay, so extroverts tend to be looked at in society as those that are more sociable than others. But that's not necessarily true. Extroverts, the way actually Carl Jung coined the term extroverts is the person tends to look outside. So what does that mean? What does it mean tends to look outside? Well, naturally looking outside comes with being more sociable, but not all the time. A person who looks outside can be sensation seeking and wants to draw energy from others. So I'm going to make up a case right now. Let's say there's a person in class who doesn't talk that much, but really enjoys being around other people, really looks at others for ideas, or not necessarily others, but looks to the external world for answers. That person is an extrovert. That person may not be socializing so much, but they actually enjoy the company of people. And I think that's very important when we're talking about these terms. A lot of people say, oh, if you talk a lot, I talk a lot, so I'm an extrovert. No, not really. You might enjoy talking, you might enjoy listening to yourself, whatever, or socializing with somebody, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're an extrovert. Maybe you enjoy talking, but you like spending time alone. You like to think for yourself, and you don't really always want to be surrounded by a crowd of people. I know a person who doesn't really like to go out, but yet loves talking and loves always talking about his ideas or her ideas. That person is an introvert. So let's make that clear. Just because you talk a lot, that does not make you an extrovert. Just because you talk a little bit, that doesn't make you an introvert. According to Carl Jung, an introvert looks inside to the internal. How does this have, you know what, before we get to the social implications, let's talk about ambivert for a little bit. Ambivert, it was until recently, about 30 years ago, they started coining the term ambivert. And it made things less simplified, I feel like, but it also is important because we all have a little bit of an ambivert in us. We all are social creatures. Just because I look into the internal for answers like an introvert would, that doesn't mean I don't want any friends. That doesn't mean I don't want to be sociable once in a while. We all are social with people that we feel comfortable with people that are like us. Let's talk about ambivert for a second. So here I wrote some things about ambivert. According to a research study published by Dr. Calkins, it was about 40% of us fall into the ambivert label or category. And at times, ambiverts have the ability to do both, to socialize and look to the external world for answers, but also look inside. So it's a little mixture of both. Remember, extrovert looking to the outside for answers, looking at the external world, finding satisfaction in that. or looking inside for answers like an introvert would. Ambiverts look inside and out. Let's write here external plus internal. I hope you guys understand this a little bit. Well, why is being an ambivert so cool? Well, if you're an ambivert, the ability to look outside and inside for answers gives you a multiple dimension way of looking at things. And how can this be beneficial? Well, it can be beneficial in parenting. It's right here, benefits. Can be beneficial in, let's say, parenting, in making friends, you can make friends with both introverts and extroverts. If you're hanging out with an introvert and they're talking about maybe the way they see things, their perspective on life, their way of viewing things, their next invention that they want to do, engineers a lot of times are introverts, and then you can make friends with them, but at the same time you could also make friends with those that want to party or maybe those that want to socialize with others. And that's pretty cool. Parenting, obviously, because you can switch your parenting style. One day you can be someone that's very outgoing, and then some days you can be a parent that's very calm and collected, and it gives you a different dimension in parenting. I technically don't like labels too much, which is funny because, you know, I'm a psychologist in training, but I feel like this a lot of times oversimplifies personality, like I said earlier in the video, and I don't want it to be oversimplified. Personality is very, very complex. No theory is gonna, until now, and I don't think any theory for the next few decades is gonna actually get the full perspective on what personality is, because personality involves experience. It involves life-changing events that only a person experiences, and maybe groups of people experiences within different regions around the world, and that forms personality, aside from genetics. And if you've seen my nature versus nurture videos, you know that a person is a person's way of thinking, a person's way of being is way more complex than anything we're going to read in a book. And I think that's so important to understand, especially when counseling, or even if you're a teacher out there, that's extremely important. Well, the way I wanted to take this, I wanted to take a turn. I wanted to ask you guys, which obviously you can't reply because I can't see, right? How does this factors into society? Why is this so important to understand for society? Well, I'll tell you why it's so important to understand. Here, in Western society, industrialized society, I don't really want to call it that, but that's what the book said, which is, I think, a little ridiculous, because every society is industrialized to a certain extent. Here in the West, here in the United States, those that are extroverted, those that tend to look outside for answers, are the ones that actually, a lot of times, they benefit from the systemic society. Why is that? When you apply to a college, it's all about how happy you are, how outgoing you are, what are your grades, have you been part of clubs, have you been part of teams. Sometimes even the university themselves, I don't want to use universities' names for legal reasons, but a lot of times universities will force you to socialize with others. They'll force you to gather in groups, and they'll force you to be with people that you don't know. And that benefits extroverts. An introvert isn't going to react so well to that. Oh, hey, let me go. I got accepted to this university, but every other day I got to be part of a club. I have to be part of certain groups, which I don't want to be a part of, but I'm being forced to. And sometimes when that happens, an introvert may not be successful in an extroverted type style university. So oftentimes you have people that are introverted who look inside for answers. They don't really want to communicate too much to others, but they're forced to socialize. And then all of a sudden they're seen as as not as smart or incapable of accomplishing something. That's a major concern. Let's take a turn to the to Eastern society. Obviously, the East is changing. You know, Asia, the Middle East, those societies have always valued introverts. The quieter you are, the less attention-seeking you're seeing, less of a problem. But that's changing now as Eastern cultures become more modernized and copying Western cultures, like Hong Kong. Extroverted is just as good. So that's one way society has implications, societal implications. Oftentimes, if you're too extroverted, if you're too outgoing, if you're too sensation-seeking, you get kicked out of class. You get now in the school setting. Let's talk about the school setting now. The public school, you get kicked out of class. You get suspended. You get expelled, or you get labeled ADHD and you get put on meds. And what happens when you're too extroverted? I guess, if that's even possible, you're too extroverted without having a sense of authority. You lose control, and you don't get to benefit from society. And I've said it before, what's society's admission ticket? And that's self-control. You have self-control, you get accepted into society. So I hope that this video actually helps you understand extrovert, ambivert, introvert. The most I want you to take from this video is introverts look inside before looking outside, and extroverts look outside before looking inside. So just because someone talks a lot, that doesn't mean they're extroverted. Just because someone doesn't talk that much, that doesn't mean they're introverted. It's way more complex than that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video and Carl Jung's coined terms of extrovert and introvert. And until next time, guys, see ya.